Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Monroe's Math. If you want to check it out, my Math is Everywhere series, it is on at Instagram at Mr. Monroe's Math. Come check it out. This weekend I'll be doing some hiking up in the White Mountains, and we can find my average rate of speed as I climb through the snowy terrain up in the White Mountains of New Hampshire as I continue my quest for my 4,000 footers. So let's get to this study guide, the end of module study guide, which is due on Thursday. You guys see it like this. A bunch of different practice problems in here, so you can see a couple of the quick answers. Key skills to study, decimals, more decimals, least common multiple, and greatest common factor. There's already a video series linked next to this, and as well as prime factorization, so that's a review for what we have. We're going to talk about all the operations with decimals really quickly as we go through here. So if you want to check it out, Instagram at Mr. Monroe's Math, my Math is Everywhere series, including how I make fractions out of my food. Delicious. All right, so let's get to it. First problem here, 237 and 12 hundredths plus 24 and 9 tenths. So again, remember, you got to make sure the most important thing is you line up that decimal. And you're adding those values there. So if I have 237, and of course make sure you're doing the correct operation. Sometimes we get lost and do the incorrect one. So 237.12 plus 24.9. Now making sure we line up the decimal and the other like place values. Okay, one thing that we can do, all right, aside from here, is that we can include zeros to the right as far as we need to get all those lined up. So let's add these numbers up here. So we got 2 and 0, which makes 2, 9 and 1, which is 10. I'm going to carry a 1 up here. So we have 7 and 4, which is 11, plus the 1 right here is 12. Get rid of that because you don't need it again. Bring 1 into the tens group. 3 and 2 is 5, plus the 1 is 6. We're good there. And 2 is 2, so 262 and 2 hundredths. So that's that one right there. Next, using subtraction. Of course, we want to be a very similar strategy. Make sure we line up the decimals. This one is important because we have to put the first number first. So we take 367 and 2 tenths, subtract 145 and 37 hundredths. Now again, we have a spot here where we need to make sure we line up because we have to subtract, and there needs to be a value here. So we're going to have to regroup not one spot back, but 2 spots back where the top number is larger than the bottom. So 7 is going to become a 6. Going to regroup 10 back to where we were before. We need to do it one more time. That 12 becomes an 11, and that 0 now becomes 10. I could cross that out and also show 10 as well. Same thing. So now we subtract top to bottom. 10 minus 7 is 3. 11 minus 3 is 8, and I just keep doing what I know how to do. 6 and 4 is 2. 3 and 1 is 2. So we get 221 and 83 hundredths. Check my answers, and those look good. Okay, so next is the product of 8 and 23 hundredths times, or multiplied by 12 and 5 tenths. So again, as you can see, I've lined them up here, but I don't have to line up the decimals. I'm just lining up digits, because what I'm really doing is taking the values as whole numbers as they are and reinserting the decimal later on. I'm looking at how many digits are after the decimal. I see 2 and 3 after the decimal here, so that's 2 of them. And then how many after 12.5? It's at 0.5, that's 1. So in the end, I'm going to move it 3 spots at the very end. So let's continue this as we find the product. So we multiply, starting with this 5. 5 times 3, 5 times 2, 5 times 8. Make sure you hit that 5 with all 3 of those values. So 5 and 3 is 15. Okay, with the 1. 5 and 2 is 10, plus the 1 is 11. Regroup that 1. You guys know how to do this. 8 and 2 is 16, plus the 1 here is 17. Notice how I have everything pretty much lined up here as I go along. You can see I already have zeros filled in, because now, after I'm done with that number, I move on to the second number here. So I'm going to start at the second position. So 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 8 is 16. Now notice that I put this number on the bottom, the 12.5. It doesn't matter, either one works well, but since these on average are lower values, the 1 and the 2 and the 5 are simpler to multiply than 2, 3, and then the 8, or the 3, 2, and then the 8. This one gives us a little more trouble. It's nice to have that on top and not have to do it as often. So again, I have those values here. I'm done with the 2. Now I move on to the 1. And since it's a 1, everything times 1 is itself, so I can simply write 823 right here. So let's add them up, combine them. What do we get? 5 0 0 is 5. Okay. 1 and 6 is 7. Okay. Ooh, I made a mistake. Look at that. Haha. 5 times 8 is 40. I was thinking of a different multiple. How about that? 5 and 2 is 40. Plus the 1 is 41. That's where my mistake was. Okay. It's always good to check our work, isn't it? So we have a 1 here. Continue to add up. 4 and 3. 7 plus the 1 is 8. Excellent. Here we go. 10 and 12. And one more. 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now we have to bring it back in. 3 spots. As we go down here, decimal the whole number. 1, 2, 3. And then we get 102 and 875,000. So that third spot. So our answer, 102 decimal 875. 3 spots after the decimal. 3 spots total. Excellent. Sorry for the pause there. I was not sure about that answer there. Okay, so lastly, one more problem that's also on our study guide is 18.75 divided by 2.5. You can do this one of 2 ways. Okay, we know a quick mental math trick because we see this 0.5. Okay, but we can also solve it a little differently. So let's take it. We got 18.75 divided by, or also as a fraction, over 2.5. Okay, and since we know that mental trick, we can multiply it by 2 because 2 halves equals 1 whole. We're trying to get a whole number in the divisor. So trying to get a whole number in the divisor. All right, and this here is the divisor, and that is the dividend. So quickly to see, dividend and divisor. So you want to make sure that they know those values. So the whole number in the divisor, the bottom number, and we're going to get 2.5 times 2.5, or plus 2.5, which is 5. 18.75, we multiply that by 2, so we're doubling it. We get 37.5. Okay? And then from there we can set up our division algorithm and solve. Okay? We can get that part. So we get 5. 37.5. Now we know 5 does not go into 3. But what multiple of 5 is close to 37? Well, we get to 35, so 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract and find the difference of 2. Group with the 5. How many times does 5 go into 25? Well, it's 5 times. Make sure you finish this out right here and get to that 0, the most important part. So we have an answer of 7.5. Now let's see if we can get the same answer multiplying by 10. So if I have, again, 18.75 divided by 2.5, and I multiply this by 10 over 10 because there is 1 digit after the decimal, I'm going to move both of these 1 spot to get 25 as my denominator, 187.5 as my numerator, and again I can set up my long division algorithm the same way. So I have, let's see, 25 divided into 187.5, again decimal right up to the top, and we know it does not go into 18. So think of your multiples of 25, your landmark number. The closest one to it without going over would be 175, so that would be 7 quarters. 25 quarters, 7 quarters would be 175. Subtract, find the difference, we get 2, 1, and now we have the 5 here. How many times does 25 go into 125? Well, it is 5 times 125, and the difference is 0. So again, this here is going to equal 7.5, which is the exact same answer as up above. So whichever way you spin it, it's going to work. All right, so really quick, there is another video for greatest common factor and least common multiple. I know we haven't done it yet as of today, but what we're looking at doing is finding prime factorizations, and we're trying to get the greatest common factor, which your number is actually going to be less than or equal to the smallest number of the values, and your least common multiple, multiples being greater numbers, larger numbers, your number is going to be larger than the highest of the 2 numbers. So here I found the prime factorization, okay, and you really want to pull out all the even numbers first. I find that to be the simplest way. It's up to you, what works best for you. And we will get our values like such. So we will continue this in class. It's the last thing that you have to do. Okay, good luck from there. Smash the like down on this video if you like it. Check out some other ones as we see coming. Please make sure that you look back at them as great study guides, as these 5 to 10 minute videos can hopefully help us further along as we go. So, hope that helped. Good luck.